Okay, so just to reiterate there, for those who missed it, so the advantages of using the system are it basically allows volunteers to upload receipts onto opportunities. And that can get sent through to the administrator who can decide whether to actually pay the expense. The process, high-level kind of process, the way it works is you turn on the expenses module, which I'll share to you in a minute, and then you create an opportunity, and you say this opportunity has managed expense, has a managed expense, which means you're managing the expense claims. The volunteer joins the opportunity. If they try and make an expense claim, and only if they try and make an expense claim, it won't ask them until then. It will say put in your sort code and account number, which they can record in the system, and then they can upload their receipt and say, yes, this receipt is for bus fare, £5 bus fare from here to here, whatever it is. That gets sent through to the administrator, who receives an email. Oh, a new expense claim. And they can go into here, and there's an extra expense claim option appearing here, which so they can then see the expense claims there, and they can decide whether to pay them or not. Sometimes they have to speak to the provider to establish whether it's a legit expense claim or not, or sometimes you know yourselves as an admin. Okay, so the first things first is we're going to turn on the expenses module. So to do that, go to the super admin menu, down to super admin menu options and opportunities. Now I will say there's an expenses booklet with this, okay, which you can download from the help menu. I think it's going to be in the extra training. It'll be appearing there for sure under expenses. So if you're ever not sure, you can always refer to the actual training manual. So if you go into here, go into opportunities, enabled managed expenses, down here somewhere, enable managed expenses. There it is. Enable managed expenses. I'm changing that from no to yes. Click on save. Okay. Now I need to create an opportunity with a managed expense, okay, which I couldn't do before until I'd switched that on. So create an opportunity. Let's call it litter picking with expense claim. I'll call it. Description here. Okay, blah, blah, blah. You put in the details. Obviously, I'm not going to focus on these. It's just showing you for training purposes here. Choose a photo. It's a weird old photo, but that'll do. Okay, pick a location. Fine. Fully managed. Create a fully managed opportunity. Okay, so if you want them to pay expenses, it has to be a fully managed opportunity. It's not something you're managing, an opportunity you're managing outside of the system, which is what that means. Okay, fully managed opportunity. It's fine. Keep it nice and simple. Do you want to allow everyone to access this opportunity? Yes, I do. Are expenses payable on this opportunity? Yes. Yes, they are payable. And this is the key question that appears because we switched on that option there, which makes this appear. Managed expense. Yes, it is. What do we pay?
Can I just jump in a second? Sorry.
Yeah, of course you can.
If you have lots of opportunities, do you just have to do this for all the different opportunities, or do you create just an expenses opportunity?
No, you do it when you're creating the opportunity, the question appears. So you just decide when you're creating those opportunities.
Yeah.
To say, yes, it's a managed expense. I mean, it's
right. So say, for example, we've got 6 opportunities. We would have to just make sure that we've done this for each of them.
Yeah. So as you're literally kind of naturally going through each of the slides like we're doing now to create it, when you get to the one that says managed expense, you can change that to yes. I think there's an option in there. I'll have a check. I think there's an option in there to default it to what you want, so you can set it to yes by default, but I'll have a check.
Right.
If there isn't, then I can certainly have a word with the development team and see if
that would be useful, because I did think when you just turned it on, it was like an automatic thing for all opportunities. So
right. No, some people have, some of our customers, you'd want it this way because some of our customers they want it for some opportunities but not for others.
Right.
It depends on funding that they're covering for different kind of schemes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Great,
okay, no worries. Click on the next button. Like I say, I'm going to keep this opportunity nice and simple. I want to share that there. Next. Post opportunity options. Next. It's a flexible opportunity. Create opportunity. Done. Okay, I'm now going to authorize. So all I've done is created a really simple opportunity there. I've kind of next through all the options, kept it simple as I can. It's a flexible opportunity, and it's got an expense, a managed expense. I've said yes to that. So I'm going to say authorize this opportunity now, so it's live and visible on the system. Okay, so how does that work from the volunteer's perspective then? Well, from the volunteer's perspective, first of all, they need to log into the system. To do that, I'm not going to take you through me registering as a volunteer. I'm just going to impersonate a volunteer on here somewhere. Let me try and find one which definitely Kirsten mine. These are all made up, obviously. I'm going to impersonate this volunteer here. I'm trying to make sure we've got a volunteer which hasn't got an expense, haven't entered in their account number and sort code and stuff first, so you can see the whole process. So I'm a volunteer. I've logged in. All right, okay. What opportunities am I interested in doing? Well, I really like litter picking. Apparently, that's what this person likes. Litter picking with expense claim. Oh, pay me expense as well, because it's quite a journey with me in the car. Okay, so they go down to here. They go to it says expenses paid on here. They join the opportunity. That's it. They're on the opportunity. Brilliant. Okay. So how do they make an expense claim now? Well, when they're on their homepage, so when they log in, obviously go along, do the opportunity now, pick up the litter, have their fun picking up the litter. And then they go to, when they log into the system next time, down the side menu from their main homepage, this is the page that opens up when they first log in, we've got expenses. Click on expenses. Before we can process any expense claims, we must record your banking account number and sort code. I'll put the sort code in, 001122. Let's make that up, obviously. 9876543, something like that. Should be 8 characters, shouldn't it? Yep, it is. Okay, and click on save. That's it. And it says, okay, then great. Add a new expense claim. So I pick which opportunity I want to add the expense claim for. There's only one. This volunteer might be on multiple opportunities, but there's only one of them which is allowing a managed expense when it was created. What am I claiming for? Fuel, I would say. Any further information from home to location? I don't know where the location is. You'd probably say what the location was, wouldn't you? Okay, when did you do it? I did it today. How much did it cost? Well, it cost me £3.50. And the location at 45 pence per mile. You'd probably you stipulated that, didn't you? But just in case the volunteer might say, well, this is how I calculated it. 45 pence a mile, and it came to £3.50 somehow. Then they could choose a receipt. Click on there, blah, blah, blah. Choose a receipt. I've got like a pretend receipt in here. I used to have one. Maybe I'm going to just pick any old rubbish shares one. I had one. Generic receipt. Click on save. That's it. Expense claim has been made in there. Okay. And the status is it's been received. So what does that look like from the admin?
Sorry, another question. Do they have to put a receipt, or is it an option not to choose?
No, they don't have to. It's not. It's optional.
Great.
Yeah, it's an optional field. Yeah. There's some things they won't have receipts for. No. So say, okay, fair enough. They've made the expense claim. What happens next? Well, the administrator would receive an email saying a volunteer has made an expense claim. Reminding them of it. So the admin goes, all right, okay, made an expense claim. I'll go in. Volunteer management down to expenses now, which we couldn't see before because it wasn't switched on, but now it is switched on, manage expenses. Go in there and we get our expense claim here. Okay, we can view the receipt. All right, okay, yeah, that's a legit receipt. We can click on the manage button if we want. Take us through to all the details of it we put in. Okay. And at any stage, I can click on here. When I select it, I see the blue action bar, which you've probably seen 100 times on different screens. Click on the change status, and I can change it to anything I want. Now, some people ask me, what's the consequence of choosing authorized or choosing paid? In regards to the system, there is no consequence. It doesn't actually do anything. It's not a trigger to change something with the expense claim, apart from the status. So it's how you how you decide to use these statuses is completely down to you. And most of our customers, they don't use all of them. They might say, okay, we had one which is called received, and then the only thing I'd ever change it to would be paid, because as soon as I get them, I pay them. Well, fine. That means that they're not going to use any of these other statuses above. They're only going to use the paid one. Okay. Other ones say, well, actually, I received them, and then I check them, I authorize them, and then once I've changed it to authorized, it's updated to authorized. Once I've changed it to authorized, I can search by statuses here. Once I've changed it to authorized, I highlight all my authorized ones, I download them to Excel, and then I send them off to the finance team. Okay, then the finance. Yep.
Sorry, Steve. Do the change of status generate emails to the volunteers?
No. Oh, actually, it's a very good question. I don't think it does. I think the status is just. No, actually, I don't know. Actually, let's check this. We can check this right now. It makes sense that it would do, thinking about it. I should know the answer to this, shouldn't I? I apologize. Let's change this here. No, it does. Yeah, it does on the authorized. It does change it up there. Okay. I can think it does make sense. Yeah, it would make sense to do that. I've never checked it myself. There you go. So it does change it on the volunteer side. So once you change it to authorized, so you might at that point download it to Excel, okay, and send that off to the finance team. So if I download results here, so I'm going to show you this spreadsheet so you know I'm not making this stuff up. Okay, so it comes up like that. Spread these columns out. Okay, so all the information that you would need to make payment, okay, to that person, that your finance team would need to make payment to that person, including sort code and account numbers. Okay. And that's it. So it really depends on the kind of setup of your organization, whether you pay it directly yourself, whether you're or whether you have like a separate finance team to pay it. Okay, I don't think there's anything.
Steve, so this is where I really struggle to kind of understand what happens next. So we're part of the university, which is a huge, very complicated beast, and I don't quite understand how this gets to them, because they would have to pay it. I don't have the capacity, I don't have the facility to pay anything on my end of things. So is that like an internal process that I'd have to sort out? For example, pulling off everything somehow and sharing it with them, or giving them some sort of admin?
So who pays? So who pays the? You create opportunities created. Who pays the actual expenses?
Well, we have a couple of ways of paying expenses. So we have a cash float, and we pay expenses via that way. So I don't think we need to complicate things and bring this into that. But it is tricky. Like, you know, sometimes we run out of cash and we have to then wait 2 weeks. So I'm really keen to develop a really kind of robust, quick and easy way of paying expenses, because currently the university paying anything takes, as you well probably know, it takes a while. And like I said at the beginning, it was really great that a couple of the finance team were going to attend, because they really want to make their life easier as well. So where it falls down for me a little bit, because we have had conversations so far, and then I saw the training and I thought, well, hopefully this will help us, is how I export the information, because I normally have to then get it approved by 2 people in the museum, and then it goes over to finance. So it's how I'd get the internal approval, then bounce it over to finance, and where all the bank details and receipts and things. Like, can I export it on a spreadsheet? Could I give them admin access?
Yeah, it very much sounds like an internal process issue that you've got there, which we can resolve now. You know, I can talk you through it. I've got plenty of training in it over the years, but it's an internal. So if we, okay, so we'll go through it. I was wondering whether to stop the recording.
So I don't want to hijack the session.
No. We're literally at the end of the session. That's as simple as that. What I've gone through there. So there's nothing more. So, but okay, let's address, because you may not be the only person with this particular issue. Okay, so let's address your particular issue, and maybe it will help some other people out. So, who pays the money? Who actually pays the money into someone's bank, into the volunteers?
So the university does.
Who within the university? You?
Payroll or finance or fees and expenses.
Fees and expenses.
Yeah.
Fees and expenses. Is that a department?
Yeah.
Fees and expenses. Fees and expenses. Okay. Now, if a volunteer, talk me through your current process. What happens if, forget what we've just been through there. If a volunteer says, I've just got a bus here and here's my receipt, what would happen?
So if they're going to submit an online payment, or not an online payment, but if they're going to submit one that they get paid into the bank account, they'd fill out one of our expense forms. That then gets sort of passed or sent to me. I have to get that signed off by 2 people within the museum. And then once they've signed it off, I send it over to fees and expenses. So what normally happens, and we've had a nightmare with this, like over the years. So because of all the bouncing around, we lose receipts. Sometimes only one signature ends up, one signature disappears on the way over. So I guess how I'd like to do it in my head is almost like every, say, 2 weeks, maybe every week, depending on how many we can run through this way, is if we have a spreadsheet that I pull off this, I have it like on our cloud storage. I sort of share that reminder with the people who'd sign it. They put their signature on the spreadsheet or something. I then bounce it to finance, and that generates the payment. But I guess that's another internal process of like, well, is that enough for them, or do they need to see? Because also, how do I pass on the bank details to finance?
It's on the spreadsheet. It sounds to me like, so you've got, it is definitely internal processes, but you've got, when you go to statuses in here, you could change these to, you could have authorized, you could have being processed.
Yeah.
So it comes through, first of all, it says received. You could mark it to, okay, once it's received, when I'm looking at it and I've checked the receipt and the receipt looks legit and I've checked that it looks okay to me, I'm gonna change it to being processed. Then I'm going to filter all the ones that are being processed, which are going to appear on here, download them to Excel. I'm going to go to those 2 people who I need to sign it off. So can you check these, please? Can you put a signature at the bottom if you're happy for me to pay these? And they'll put the signature at the bottom.
Do the receipts go with that, or will it not be the receipts? The receipts won't go with that, will they?
You could, you could print off I probably would print. I don't know, if you're doing the check yourself, if you're doing that initial check, I'd probably look at the receipts there and say, all right, do the receipts make sense? Yes. I don't think they need to check.
No.
Three of you need to check the receipt.
Finance will need to see that. I don't know if they'll.
Maybe you see a VAT number. If you wanted to, it depends on what they need. If they're asking for that as well, then you can print that off as you can, as you saw before. So if we go to, I can click on view here. Okay, I could just press Control and P now and print that page off for that receipt. Yeah. It's not hard to print the receipts up, but then you have to.
I could screenshot it and just put it in an electronic document, couldn't I? Maybe.
Yeah, you could do something like that. But essentially, you've got a process where someone's made expense claims. Okay, your state at that stage they're going to be say received, and then you're going to check those expense claims, look at the receipts, and say, all right, okay, that receipt makes sense with what they're claiming for. And you have a look at the rest of the information. Yep, I'm happy with all that. I'm going to change these ones now.
Click back on that manage one a sec. Just click back on manage. All right, so that almost generates a nice little kind of, that's got the bank details on, hasn't it? Would the Excel spreadsheet pull that off as well?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So did it show the Excel? I thought I looked at it before. Yeah, so when you download the results here, I download it to Excel. Can you see Excel now? Is it opening up?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, right. So on here we have first name, last name, and down over here, blah 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 blah, all the information you'd ever need to make that, and including sort code and bank account.
Okay, that's
you got that there, and then you can have your.
I didn't realise that. I wasn't sure if that information was going to kind of be downloadable.
Oh, it's in there. It's in there. Cost code. You can put a cost code in there as well.
Amazing.
If you wanted to. So once you've got, so the point I'm making is once you've got that, you've said, okay, you do a check personally yourself. You might do it once every 2 weeks or once a month.
Yeah.
Once a month, you do a check and say, yeah, I've checked through the receipts and they all look fine to me. I'm going to change their status now to authorized, which is why you'd click on it and then you'd change the status to authorized. I've already set mine to authorize. Authorized. Fine. Now I'm going to go and take them to them 2 people who are also download the results from an Excel spreadsheet, take it to those 2 people who need to sign it off. They sign off. Once they've signed it off, then you might go into here and change it to being processed or something like that.
I might just do authorized because I think I've my week just going in and out of spreadsheets. I think when it's authorized, it almost says to me it's been received, it's been passed on. And then, once it goes to HR, finance, I'm never really going to know when it's paid. But if we can do a really great system, like staff expenses get paid like within a week nowadays. So I think this could really transform the way we're working at the moment, because it is a real stumbling block for us.
I think you're right, yeah, and in all honesty, I think you're right with keeping it as simple as you can. It comes when it appears the status is received. When I've checked it, I mark it as when I've checked it and printed them off, I mark it as authorized, and that's it. That's all you need to know. So all you'll ever see is received or authorized. If it's authorized, you've printed it off. Then you get the 2 signatures. Then you give it to fees and expenses department, and that's it. Your work is done with that. You walk back, get on with your life.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the best. Like I say, you don't have to use all these different statuses, but if you wanted to say, all right, when I check it with these 2 people and they sign it off, I'm going to change the status again. And then when I give it to finance, I want to change the status again.
Yeah.
You could do that. But in all honesty, I probably wouldn't. I'd probably do what you
said.
said.
You know, after this session, could you email me just an example of the spreadsheet that's received? Because then I can go to finance then and just say, would this,
sure.
along with the receipts that I can kind of like pull off, would this be enough to sort of...
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no worries. I'll send across that spreadsheet there. It's just all dummy data anyway, so that's no
amazing
problem.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have a few.
Okay. Yeah, no worries.
So
fire away.
first of all, obviously we use TeamKinetic in 2 different ways. We use it first of all for our own projects, and we also use it for brokerage. As you know, we're a volunteer centre.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we turn expenses on, then we need to perhaps disable it for providers. When their opportunities come through, we need to make sure that managed expenses for that opportunity is off somehow, because we're not going to be doing all the expenses for 350 providers endorse it.
So you want to pay expenses, but only for opportunities that your administrators are running, essentially, or internal providers are running.
Sometimes we do get funding from an organisation to administer their volunteering, and for those we would want to be able to obviously enable it, but we want to be able to. So I guess whenever time an organisation creates an opportunity, we would need to make sure that they haven't ticked managed expenses.
Yeah.
On a case by case basis would be the only way that would work, wouldn't
it? Yeah. I think I'm just looking here whether there is an option to switch it on for providers, switch it off for providers.
Obviously, no.
See, the problem is it wouldn't do it for all providers, though, wouldn't it?
No.
What you need to do is have it as trusted providers. So only trusted providers can create opportunities with an expense claim. That's what you'd need. I'll have a chat with the development team. I'll see if I can add it on there. Because then obviously you can mark your internal providers, the ones who work for your admins, essentially. You mark them down as trusted providers.
Yeah.
Or the other way, I suppose, is if you're logged in as an administrator, then you can add an expense claim. But if you're just logged in as a provider, then you can't. That'd be the other way. Either of those would work. But leave it with me, Vicky. Let me have a chat with them about that. So certain providers you want to be able to. Okay.
The other question I had, we mentioned it briefly earlier, was about when you're the volunteer putting the expense in. How do we know that they've calculated their mileage correctly? This is what I was saying about, it would be easier if we could put a rate in and they could put how many miles they've done in, and then it calculate it for them. Because it was assuming that the mileage is always calculated at 45p.
Which, to be fair, I mean, we can calculate the distance from where the volunteer lives to where the opportunity is. We can calculate the distance, so we could potentially, but it's just fraught with, I couldn't go that route because, you know what I mean. And I'm not sure whether it's as the crow flies or whether it's actually. Yeah,
and it doesn't allow in for like diversions, roadworks, etc. But it's just something that if we did have the option that rather put a value, and if it was mileage, if we could put the number of miles in.
Yeah, it'd be like another option on here, wouldn't it? Rather than putting in a value, they'd say miles.
Because otherwise, if I sent this to my account person with like you put that £3.50 in, she would then go and have to calculate 350 divided by and check that the mileage was correct. Whereas if we could have it so she could see how many miles they'd said they'd done, it just takes a step out of that calculation. It takes another step out the process.
Yeah. A few more extra boxes on here, but yeah, I could see the advantage.
The other thing, because obviously we do have because as soon as we enable the feature, the expenses option appears on the left of the screen you're showing us now. Is there any way we can put a message on that it's not for all opportunities, but this is only because if a volunteer comes here that perhaps volunteers for another provider and then they see the expenses and think, oh, I did incur mileage, and they come here to try and put it on, but because we haven't enabled managed expenses for this opportunity, is there any kind of pop-up that we can say that if an opportunity is not listed, please contact the organisation directly or something to process your expenses?
Well, it does show them on when they're searching for the opportunity. It does show them whether expenses are paid or not.
But you know what volunteers are like. I mean, I love them to pieces. They're our job. But if I had the word expenses appear on the left of my profile and I thought, oh, I'll go and put mine on, and the opportunity's not there, I'd be phoning the volunteer centre to find out why. Whereas if we can say, if your organisation, if your role isn't listed, please contact your provider directly to process your expenses or something like that.
Yeah, but even that's fraught with providers. I'm just thinking across the board. I know how it would work for you, but across the board, you could have providers who say, "Why is the person phoning me? I didn't say I paid expenses. Why is you sit and tell them to phone me to ask for expenses?"
We could phrase it in a way that if your organisation is not listed and you've been advised you can claim expenses, please contact your organisation, or something that's like an if rather than a word. It gets away with a lot.
All right, I'll have a think about that before we put into auto.
Yeah, the other question sorry, I feel like I've hijacked you now. Community tasks. How can they claim expenses?
I don't think they can. There's nothing built into that task feature.
Okay.
For expenses.
Okay.
I'm not through all this. There's nothing built into it. I know that.
Yeah. The last one, I know you shared that. I couldn't quite. My screen's not massive because I'm on my laptop at home. But when you download that spreadsheet, does it list that say you want to send to finance? Does it list the opportunity that the person is claiming expenses for? Like if we have 4 or 5 different, I guess it's quite small on my screen. It might be there, but does it say what role or what opportunity that expense relates to? So does it relate to community volunteering? Does it relate to the community fridge? Does it relate to? It's just so that then, because a lot of departments have projects that they need to allocate costs to.
Yeah, it's got the name of the opportunity there.
Yeah.
So it has loads of information there for it.
Okay, that should help with that one. No, I'm just hearing the questions our finance managers.
No, it's all right. No worries.
Yeah, I think that's all I've got written down for now.
45 pence. No, that's right. 45 pence a mile, the auto calculation. That. And the other one was, what if op doesn't pay?
Yeah, it's just making it clear to the volunteers that expenses isn't for every single expense they might incur as a volunteer, but only ones that we've got enabled through the system somehow.
Yeah. Right, leave it with me. I'll find out about them things, and I'll drop you an email back at some point today.
Thank you, Nihan.
No problem. Any other questions? Any more? No? Well, in that case, thank you very much for your time. I hope you found that useful, and I'll speak to you all. Soon.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you.
All right. Cheers, Kate. I'll give you a bell as well, Kate, soon. All right.
Yeah, great. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
See ya.
Cheers. Bye-bye.